Okay, so in 8.2, we're dealing with income tax. And what you'll learn in this section is determine the gross income, the adjustable gross income, and taxable income, being able to calculate federal income tax, calculate the FICA tax, and solve problems involving working students and taxes. So income tax is a percentage of your income collected by the government to fund its services and programs. Now, gross income is the total income for the year that you make, and the adjusted gross income is found by subtracting the adjustments from the gross income. So basically, adjusted gross income equals your gross income minus any adjustments that you can make here. Standard deductions, the lump sum amount that you can subtract from the adjusted gross income, and it's set by the IRS. Now, instead of the standard deduction, if you can also do itemized. It's either or, one of the two. And so this is a list of the deductions one can make if they have a large number of deductible expenses, such as interest on a home mortgage, state income tax, property tax, charitable contributions, and medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of the adjusted gross income. And that's the key here. It has to exceed the 7.5% of the adjusted gross income. And then you're going to choose the greater, either the standard or the itemized. And then your taxable income then is your adjusted income less the deductions. So basically, you just take and subtract the two and you get your taxable income. So let's work on a small calculation here. So it says Annika earned wages of $87,200, received $2,680 in interest from a savings account, and contributed the $9,600 to a tax deferred savings plan. She's entitled to a standard deduction of $12,550. The interest on her home mortgage was $11,700. She paid $4,300 in property taxes and $5,220 in state taxes and contributed 15,000 to charity. All right. So what we have to do is we need to first determine Annika's gross income. All right. Well, her gross income, let's put it over here. So one, and so the gross income is going to be equal to, well, she made this much plus the amount she got from interest, which is the 2680. So we're going to add those two together. So we'll take 87,200 plus the 2680. And if we plug that into our calculator, we should get $89,880 for her gross income. Now, she's entitled to a standard deduction of the 12,550 or a combined of those others there. So which one ever is a better amount. And so what we need to do is we need to add up all of her possible items there. And so let's go ahead and do that. And so what we're doing now is we're kind of doing part of part three. We haven't done part two yet. We're going to do part of part three because it's kind of important too. So we're going to take that number plus that number plus that number and plus that number. So these are itemized deduction. Now, none of those are medical expenses, so we can just add them together. So we'll take 11,700 plus 4,300 plus 5,220, and we'll put a 15,000 here. And if we add all those together, we should get 36,000, it looks like, and 220, and that would be deductions. Now, for part three, we're going to look at this number versus this number, which is the standard deduction. Well, this one is bigger, so we will take that for her standard deduction. But before we can do that, we need to do her adjusted gross income. So adjusted gross income is basically taking her gross income, the 89,880, minus any adjustments. And her adjustments are how much she contributed to the tax deferred savings plan. So that's the $9,600. So we'll subtract off $9,600. And so that leaves us then with adjusted gross income of 80,280. Now, like I said, we did this a little bit early because we wanted to have room, so I wanted to make sure I had room over here. And so now our taxable income is our adjusted gross income minus the larger. And the standard deduction was smaller than the itemized, so we're going to subtract the itemized. And so the taxable income is going to be the $80,280 minus the $36,220. And plugging that into calculator, we should get $44,060 as our taxable income. And so that is the number that they're looking for this problem. Okay. And again, we just have to kind of go through and see what is given and then kind of go from there. So we knew we made those two amounts. We put something away in a deferred savings plan, so that's an adjustment. And then you had a standard deduction or you had the itemized deduction. And so you had to compare the two of those, and itemized was bigger, so you subtracted off, and then that got us the taxable income. So let's stop there and we'll come back in a little bit.